Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Listening to the podcast is only going to get you so far. Why not take your game to the next level? Check out Power Producer Basecamp on killingcommercial.com today.
Tactical skills that'll help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Want to have the sweet swag that we send out from the Power Producers podcast for your clients and employees? Check out policyt.com today.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Want to create an online presence but don't know how to start? Check out crushingcontent.com. It's done for you, so all you have to do is show up.
This is Power Producer Shop Talk, production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. We are back for episode number 2 with our good friend Zane Goldthorpe from ProWriters. And one of the things, as we were wrapping up the last episode, that I realized I failed to mention was we always talk to Zane about cyber, but you guys do way more than just cyber. You do professional liability, you do some D&O, you do some EPLI. Maybe spend just a couple minutes before we get into the conversation around selling cyber in the soft market and talk about what some of your other capabilities are.
Yeah, so we're selling. So essentially, we want people to think of us as full-scale professional liability. If you've got anything that's professional liability, come to us. We can get it done. You know, you mentioned cyber is the guarantee. Tech E&O is the guarantee. When you're talking D&O, EPL, crime, MPL, those are the ones we're pretty much going to say, yeah, we're going to be able to get this. We've got tons of markets. We're going to get it done. But we're starting to do a lot more than just that. We, contractors, manufacturers, A&E. We've got in-house expertise on that. And then, like I mentioned, with the acquisition with Victor, we've got their products to sell as well. They have specialty programs for those lines. So I tell people anything professional related, reach out to us and we'll take a look at it. If you send something to, I mean, I'm talking even, we've got programs for lawyers, LPL and accountancy, if you send something like that to us, we'll look at it. And if we only have 2 or 3 markets, we'll tell you straight up. We'll say, hey, we've got these 3 markets that we're going to go to. If you have somebody that specializes in this, I'd recommend you go to them as well. We'll let you know. But for some of those first ones I mentioned, we've got all the market access and the markets keep growing.
Yeah, you guys have added actually quite a few just in the time that we've been doing business with you, which is longer than probably I realized at this point, probably 5 or 6 years now. Yeah. But, it's interesting because it used to be when we would send something out, we would get a spreadsheet that had like maybe 4 or 5 options on it. Now, how many carriers do you have in the mix?
On the platform now we have 9, but I can tell you there is a few that are in the background working to get on there. So that number is just going to keep increasing. But when you talk about offline, when I say offline, I mean the more open brokerage accounts. You say you go to the platform, you put one in, and it's a trickier one. It's got claims on it. That's the beauty of our platform is the service is we're going to work on it in a traditional wholesale approach. We're going to go outside the platform. And we're going to go to all our markets. And I mean, we're probably over 50 to 60 markets now.
Yeah. And I think that's something worth mentioning because I don't know that a lot of people probably don't realize that you actually operate like a normal broker. You just have a really slick user interface so that if you have that cleaner business that's kind of straightforward, it'll push through. But that doesn't mean if you don't get that type of a response that ProWriters can't help you. You're just going to do what most people would do and have a few more questions because you're going to have conversations. So yeah. I would tell you guys, I mean, ProWriters handles some fairly complex stuff for me outside of what just goes through the portal. Love the portal, love the ability to quote it and get all that stuff, but it's also beneficial to know that I've got the expertise of people who have been doing this a long time in the background that I have access to as needed.
Yeah, and I would honestly say that's probably one of our biggest competitive advantages. Like I said last time we talked, was that there's more platforms popping up. A lot of them are being created by technology people, and it's more of a take it or leave it approach. Plug it in the platform, get your quotes. Please don't call us with any questions. And if you get
Well, we
referrals,
probably can't answer them if you have them anyhow, you know?
and if you get referrals, that's going to turn into a declination because the carrier doesn't want to work on that business. And so if you have trickier business and you plug it in that platform, you're going to get a bunch of declinations. You're not going to get quotes. And then all of a sudden you're left having to go out to open market, but you've already blocked yourself because they've already gone to those markets. And so it just turns into a lot of trouble. Whereas with us, I think, what Brian always says that really resonates is think of us like Expedia. Think of us as the Expedia of cyber insurance, except you could pick up the phone and call one number and somebody's going to answer every time. That's essentially, we've got the upfront platform to let you handle all the straightforward stuff efficiently. It lets us work efficiently. So that stuff's just moving. And then we can spend our time really getting into the tricky stuff and we can help you get through the harder stuff. I tell people all the time, if you have a submission with a claim on it, put it through the platform. Don't be afraid. It will trigger all referrals, but we're going to jump on it. And you're blocking the market. We're going to come to you, tell you what we need. But we love the trickier stuff. That's, the bigger stuff, trickier stuff. That's where we probably spend most of our time and expertise.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's always been great for me is I've been able, when I do have questions, I can reach out, I get a hold of somebody, those questions get answered. Especially if it's asking me for something that I don't know what the heck it is, or that the client doesn't, I can get a clear answer and get right back to them. And I mean, that's always since
Yeah.
day one been a huge benefit of working with you.
Yeah, and that's something me and Brian, I think, have always just heavily aligned on this. But our belief, as far as if you're going to be a wholesaler in insurance, especially if you're going to be a tech enabled, your job has to be making the agent's life easier. I mean, that is what everything we do is around. Are we making our agent's life easier? We're not trying to build things that make the underwriting company and the broker's life easier. We want it to be beneficial to the agent because you guys are the ones down in the field. I always say when I work with new people in the industry, I always say the closer you get to the buyer, the harder it gets and the more stressful it's going to be. So that producer, that retail agent out there, like we're there to support them. We're there to make them be able to close more deals and operate more efficiently and have an be easier.
Yeah, it's, we talked about it a little bit. We touched on it in the soft market, why this makes sense. I mean, I think that part of the issue agents have, and I could be wrong, but I have a lot of conversations with producers. And I think so many people are looking at their job as my job is to sell insurance instead of my job is to protect assets and the livelihood of the people that I represent. That's number one. The second part of our job is we have a duty to offer coverage that is reasonable and prudent for any business or individual that we engage with. And if we fail to do that and it leads to something down the road, they could come back and say, well, I consulted with David at Florida Risk Partners and he never even mentioned cyber, but my business has been shut down now for 3 weeks because we don't have the ability to pay for this ransomware. We would have certainly bought insurance if it was ever presented to us. And I think that what happens is because we view our job as selling insurance policies instead of protecting the livelihood and assets of the businesses and individuals, as well as our duty to offer, that we just don't do that. But if you lean into the fact you have the duty to offer and you use that, if somebody pushes back, well, you're just trying to sell me more. No, actually, what I'm doing, if I'm really being
Try not
honest,
to get sued, dude.
yeah, protecting my own rear end here, brother. I want to make sure I offer this to you because ultimately you're right. It's 100% your decision. But if I don't do my job and you have an issue, it's going to come back on me. We should be offering it to everybody. In my theory right now, and I talked about this on the Killing Commercial private call on Wednesday, and that is get people into a policy now. Like, don't wait until the market hardens. And I mean, if you want to step back, Zane, you're welcome to correct me. You're not going to offend me, here. And so I'm gonna say something, and I'm honestly doing it because I want your input. But my thought process is this. You know, if you get people into a cyber policy while the market is soft, you're dealing with a renewal instead of trying to get a piece of new business written. That's number one. Number two, if you get them into the policy during the soft market, yes, you're going to have to probably lean into duty to offer and all of that a little bit more. But think about what leads to a hard market. Bad experience with the carriers. What does that mean? More claims. What does that mean? More stories in the news, more demand from the people that are the business owners that you would be selling to begin with. So by the time they actually want to talk to you about this, it will have already cycled into probably one of the worst times to talk to you about it because it's the hard market now. Instead of dealing with it when pricing is low, appetites are good. I've even seen in some of the things relaxed requirements for some of the risk management stuff, which absolutely blows my mind. But I
Which
mean, what are your thoughts on that? Is that
I,
accurate?
I, I agree 100%. I haven't ever thought about it that way, but I agree 100%. And you just mentioned the last piece you mentioned. That's going to lead to more claims. That's going to lead to the market hardening. So, and when you're going out to market in a hard market, the carriers, they're only going to write what they want to write. Talking about laid back underwriting procedures, we definitely have seen that if you put in a risk that it's in a lighter hazard class, put small business, less risky class of business, and they don't have MFA, they don't have EDR, you're going to get some quotes right now. You're going to get them. I'm still gonna preach that you absolutely need to talk to your client about implementing those things, but you're going to be able to get quotes. In a hard market, no chance. You're moving to, if you're not a perfect risk with the perfect security, the underwriter's throwing you to the back of their desk to never be seen again because they're going to cherry pick the best of best and write them at big premiums.
Well, I think the other thing too is we're dealing with a hard market on a lot of other things, right? So
Yes.
umbrella is tough right now. Auto is tough right now, depending, although I don't know that that even depends. I think it's probably almost everywhere in the country. General liability, depending on class of business, plumbers, HVAC service contractors, but also very much in need of cyber. They're all getting hammered. And I think that's the other thing that plays into it is you're an agent, you're going out, you're getting your renewals, you're delivering bad news to your
Mhm.
client. Do you really want to, in their mind, do I really want to tack on, hey, you probably need cyber too? The reality is, if I'm thinking about how I would spin that or present that at the point of sale, I would almost say, I'm going to recommend cyber every year. And I understand that you're in a situation where your premiums for your renewal are coming back higher and you're telling me what a strain it's putting on your business. I don't think having an uninsured cyber claim is going to further your efforts to reduce the strain on your business. I understand I'm asking you to maybe stretch a little and make this $2,500 to $5,000 a year is probably where it's going to fall in most cases. But I really am going to urge you to take a look at this because it's pretty important. And then you can get into all you have to do is sell one more water heater a month, or you know what I mean? I mean, I'll break it down to that level at the point of sale because a lot of times when people look at stuff and they just see the one big number, like, oh, we'd never be able to afford that. But if you take it and say, well, really, if you just didn't have overtime every week, or if if you had this or you had this, I just
Yeah.
think that we need to push through some of that stuff. And I mean, look, I've said this over and over and over again. I used to call it the four horsemen, but now I think there's five. But if you look at cyber, EPLI, life insurance specifically to buy sell agreements, umbrellas, and flood. If I walked into any agency in the country right now that has a commercial book as a producer and they said, David, we're going to let you have access to our entire book, we don't want you cold calling anybody at all. We want you just to deal with our existing clients and figure out if we can get revenue lift there. I'm going to go in every single commercial account, look for those 5 things, and I can promise you that I don't have to do anything else for the next several years, because not only am I going to identify that those aren't being offered, nor do they have rejection forms to help the agent be protected in the event somebody accuses them of not bringing it up, but I'm going to make more money than I know what to do with.
Yeah. Yeah, and you bring up a good point there, because absolutely, I believe a lot of agents out there are going through. I mean, I hear it all the time. It's probably one of our challenges is agents who are having to go in and sell big increases across the board. And by the time they get to the end of it, the agent's almost terrified to even bring up cyber. And I completely understand that. That is very challenging. But again, I think that's where it's just got to be that, it's like you mentioned, you're not trying to sell them insurance. You're trying to protect your client.
You're an advisor.
You're
Advisors
you're
give
trying to
advice,
protect your
period,
client,
right?
and
Yeah.
you have to bring it up. And even if it's a tough conversation, you have to tell them, like, look, I know I know rates are up, but this is something that I would just tell them point blank. This is something that keeps me up as night as your agent. Is
Yeah.
the cyber attack that keeps me up, and so I have to talk this through with you, because again, the awareness is much higher than it's ever been out there. And what happened last year with all these major attacks that have these ripple effects across industries, everybody is aware of it. All you have to do to a client is ask them, what if CrowdStrike had been shut down for 2 weeks? I mean,
I'd still be sitting in the Sky Club in Atlanta Airport, because that's where
yeah.
I was when it hit.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's where you just have to say it's too important not to bring up. You don't want to be the agent who gets that call from your client who says, we just transferred $1 million and it went to the wrong place. What do we do? And you don't want to be that agent who's sitting there saying, I never gave you cyber. I mean, you or had the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, again, it goes back to, if you're an advisor, you're really getting, even though your pay is probably being derived from commission, you're being paid for your advice, period.
Yeah.
You have to lean into that. If you don't have the guts to bring it up, then you don't believe enough in what you do, and you're not comfortable enough in your skill set to analyze the risk in a company and offer the solutions necessary. I don't know that you necessarily would offer cyber simply as a standoff thing. I think that's part of a broader conversation around what are the risk management protocols that you're doing in your operation right now to protect from any kind of a cyber event coming and happening to you that would cause an insurance policy to respond to begin with. And I think that's a little bit longer conversation. So this is probably a good place to wrap this one up and move into the next one. And that's what we're going to talk about, is what are the risk management tools we should be using as agents and talking to our clients about, in addition to simply just offering an insurance policy, which, albeit an effective mechanism, you don't want to file claims if you don't have to, especially if they're things that could be avoided. So we'll catch you guys next week. In the meantime, if you're not set up with ProWriters, number one, shame on you. Number two, the good news is they'll probably still talk to you. Go to ProWriters.com, check them out. They've got an awesome library of learning tools on there for you called ProWriters University that was designed and developed by our special guest today, Zane. But in addition, if you want to reach out and figure out next steps, or you could probably sign up directly from the website, you could email Zane at zane.goldthorpe@ProWriters. It's ProWriters or ProWriters INS?
ProWritersINS.com.
That's what I thought. ProWritersINS.com. And when you spell out Goldthorpe, take the E off. Leave that for Jim Thorpe. Anyhow, we'll let you guys run. We'll catch you next time. See ya.
Bye.